Ah, the legendary HK416. You might think it's just another rifle, but it's far from that. If it were, it wouldn't be taking over NATO forces quietly around the world. With a reputation built on high-profile missions and a design that solves the shortcomings of its predecessors, it's become the go-to choice for troops facing the harshest conditions. In this video, we'll talk about why NATO countries are dropping their older rifles in favor of the HK416, what sets it apart from standard-issue weapons, and how it's earned a spot as the rifle of choice in modern warfare. From its debut to its role in the legendary Bin Laden raid, we'll explore the secrets behind the HK416's rise to military fame and uncover why it's seen as the future of NATO firepower. Get ready to dive into the specs, the strategy, and the stories that made this rifle a global phenomenon. All right, so here's the story behind the HK416, a rifle that's captured the attention and funding of some of the most demanding militaries in the world, starting with Norway. This all kicked off back in 2007 when Norway took a bold step, ordering over 60,000 HK416s to replace their aging rifles. They weren't just picking a new toy here. This decision was about upgrading to something that could handle the brutal conditions troops face, especially in environments where old rifles would have choked up. Now, the M4 and its variants had been around for ages, and they did the job. Mostly. But there's this pesky little issue. They use a direct impingement system, which basically means they suck in a lot of gas and dirt every time they fire. It's like taking a deep breath in a dust storm. Not exactly healthy. After firing a few rounds in harsh conditions, the M4 could clog up with carbon and sand, leading to malfunctions. For elite units, that's a deal breaker. Norway wasn't about to send their soldiers into rough terrain with a rifle that needed constant cleaning just to stay operational. They needed something tougher, something that wouldn't let them down when the going got rough. Enter the HK416, the answer to that problem. Heckler & Koch, or H&K for short, is a German manufacturer known for high-quality firearms. They came up with a solution that's about as reliable as a rifle gets. They took inspiration from the M4's layout, so the controls would feel familiar to anyone already trained on it, but they swapped out that troublesome gas system. Instead of using direct impingement, the HK416 uses a short-stroke gas piston system. What's that mean? Well, the piston system keeps all that heat, dirt, and gas from building up in the action, making it way more reliable in sand, mud, rain, or anything else Mother Nature decides to throw at it. For this reason, word got around that this rifle didn't jam or clog up like the old ones, even under intense conditions. For the everyday shooter, picking up an HK416 might be a bit of a splurge. This isn't a bargain basement rifle. The price can go north of $2,500, but you're paying for more than just a name. This thing is built to last and handle the extremes, which is why it's found its way into military arsenals across the world. The HK416 story began in Norway, but its reputation quickly spread. And once France and Germany took notice, it was only a matter of time before the HK416 became the rifle that everyone wanted in their armory. But here's where the HK416 story gets a little more personal for us Americans. When Delta Force started looking for a more reliable weapon for their high-stakes missions, the M4 just wasn't cutting it in the extreme conditions they were up against. Imagine sand, mud, and all the grit of the Middle East clogging up the rifle. Yeah, not ideal when you're relying on that weapon to work every single time you pull the trigger. Enter Larry Vickers, a man who knows his way around firearms better than most. He's one of those legendary Delta Force armorers, and he was called in to help with a solution. Vickers had been around long enough to know that the M4's direct impingement gas system just wasn't going to survive the kinds of operations Delta was running. That system pushes all the hot, dirty gas from each shot straight back into the rifle's guts. Sure, it works fine in controlled conditions, but out in the field? You're looking at a gun that clogs up faster than a cheap vacuum cleaner in a sandstorm. Delta Force needed something tougher, something that could shrug off the worst conditions like it was just another day at the range. That's where H&K came into the picture. They're the German firearm giants with a reputation for building rock-solid, no-nonsense weapons. Delta went to H&K and basically said, "Build us a rifle that can take a beating and keep on firing." H&K listened, and with Vickers on board as a consultant, they started rethinking the M4 from the inside out. The result? They replaced the direct impingement system with a short-stroke gas piston. Instead of funneling all that crud into the inner workings, the gas piston vented it out the front, keeping things cleaner and cooler. Vickers wasn't just a bystander in this whole process. He was hands-on, offering insights and pushing the design toward what Delta really needed. This wasn't just about creating a rifle that would look good on paper. It was about making something that could withstand the abuse of special operations. Vickers knew Delta operators wanted a rifle with M4 familiarity, but with performance they could trust under fire. That's why the HK416 kept the same control layout, so there was no relearning curve. Safety, bolt release, magazine release, all where Delta Force operators expected them. And it worked. By 2004, the first versions of the HK416 were already getting field tested by Delta Force operators. It didn't take long for the rifle to earn a reputation as a reliable beast that could chew through the dirtiest environments without a hitch. Vickers later called the HK416 a game changer for Delta Force, and he wasn't exaggerating. It was rugged, accurate, and dependable. It solved the problems that the M4 struggled with in the field. How, you may ask? Well, it's because of that gas system, the short-stroke gas piston I talked about earlier. It might sound like a minor tweak, but this change is what makes the HK416 a game changer for reliability. See, most of us are used to the M4's direct impingement system. If you've ever cleaned an M4 after some solid range time, you know just how nasty that gets. The HK416 doesn't play that game. Instead of blasting all that hot, dirty gas into the heart of the rifle, its short-stroke gas piston keeps it clean and low maintenance. And then there's its legendary durability. The HK416 has been put through the ringer in stress tests, including the famous mud tests. This rifle has seen its fair share of abuse in controlled tests, where it's dumped in mud, dirt, and water, and then expected to fire without jamming. And time and again, it just keeps going. In one U.S. Army test, the HK416 experienced only about 233 stoppages out of 60,000 rounds. Compare that to the M4's 882 stoppages in similar conditions, and you start to see why the military is so keen on this thing. It's like taking a car that's built for a racetrack and finding out it also handles just fine in a swamp. For soldiers, knowing that their rifle won't let them down when things get rough is a serious confidence boost. Another superb feature of the HK416 is that it keeps the layout and controls familiar, just like the M4. Safety, bolt release, magazine release. They're all right where an American soldier expects them to be. This makes transitioning from the M4 to the HK416 almost seamless, without needing to retrain on a new control setup. One other thing that's worth mentioning. Because the HK416 doesn't get as dirty or hot as fast as the M4, it can go a lot longer without maintenance. That's a big deal in combat zones where cleaning time is a luxury, not a guarantee. Less heat also means less wear and tear on parts, so the rifle has a longer lifespan between tune-ups. Some HK416 barrels can handle up to 40,000 rounds before they even think about needing a replacement. That's the kind of durability that saves money and reduces headaches in the field. With all this, it's no wonder why the HK416 became a NATO favorite, so much so that it was used in one of the most famous military operations of our time, the raid that took down Osama bin Laden. May 2, 2011, Operation Neptune Spear. Navy SEALs were about to pull off a mission that the whole world would soon be talking about. And what rifle did they bring along for the job? That's right, the HK416. This wasn't just any mission. This was the highest stakes, no room for error raid of the decade, and the HK416 performed flawlessly, helping seal the mission's success. When the SEALs emerged victorious, the rifle emerged a legend. After that, the HK416 wasn't just a reliable rifle, it was practically mythic. The gun's association with the Bin Laden raid instantly elevated its status. Once word got out about its reliability and performance, it was only a matter of time before entire armies started making the switch. Take France, for example. In 2016, they decided it was finally time to retire their old famous rifles. The FAMAS had been around for decades, and while it was decent in its prime, it was outclassed by modern standards. France didn't just order a few HK416s, they ordered a whopping 117,000 of them. It was a complete overhaul, and they didn't mess around. The HK416 fit the bill with its durability and NATO standard compatibility, making it an easy choice for the French forces. Then there's Germany. In 2021, the German military adopted the HK416 as well, calling it the G95A1. Now, this might seem like just another name change, but militaries love to rebrand gear to fit their own identity. It's the same rifle, but G95A1 gives it that distinct German military touch. And they weren't alone. The U.S. Marine Corps also got on board, but with a twist. They rebranded it as the M27 Infantry Automatic Rifle, IAR. The Marines decided to use the M27 to replace the M249 SAW in some frontline roles, which stirred up some debate. The M249 was a belt-fed workhorse known for laying down a lot of rounds, but the M27 brings a precision and reliability that the old SAW just couldn't match. But the HK416 didn't stop there. Soon, militaries and special forces in Turkey, South Korea, Italy, and other NATO countries were adopting it. Indeed, it became the NATO favorite for good reason. It's tough, reliable, and fits right into any standard NATO setup. And that's why NATO switched to the HK416. To say this rifle has made a significant impact on modern military arsenals is an understatement. With its accuracy, longevity, and user-friendly design, the HK416 has redefined what militaries expect from a combat rifle. It's built to withstand harsh environments, is compatible with NATO parts, and offers the precision and dependability that modern warfare demands. But there are rumors that the SIG MCX is gaining favor in some special forces circles, which raises an interesting question. With the HK416's proven reliability in almost every condition, why does it sound like there's an emerging preference for the SIG MCX in some special forces? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click on the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos.